This is the Resilient Advisor Show with Jay Coulter.
I am recording this short podcast to share some personal news with you, the Resilient Advisor audience. So you've probably noticed I have not put out a lot of podcasts in the last 6 months. I've actually just completed a short battle with cancer. They found a tumor about the size of a golf ball on the side of my face. It had been growing over the previous year, and during a 4-hour procedure to remove that tumor from my face, they also took out some lymph nodes behind it, and they found cancer in those lymph node cells. Now, I want to be really clear. I am completely fine today as I record this. My scans are clean, and I do not want you to feel sorry for me. I'm only sharing this story with you because I learned some great lessons going through this experience as a 49-year-old man that I want to share with you, because you can't really appreciate some of the lessons unless you've been through an experience like this. So here are the 5 lessons from my cancer diagnosis that I wanted to share with you. The first, the happiness framework that I teach my clients and I've talked about on this show in the past, it works. If you're not familiar with this framework, it's very simple. There are 3 things that if you focus on really help drive happiness in life: your health, your wealth, and your relationships. For me, health means both physical and mental. And of course, going through a traumatic experience like that did impact my health, but I'd always stayed pretty healthy and attuned to those things. Wealth, whatever that means to you, whether it's money or time to do things that you want, it becomes even more important when you go through a traumatic experience like that. I'll also tell you, money does matter when you go through an experience like that. And then lastly, in the happiness framework, relationships are so important. We don't spend enough time with the people that we want to spend time with. Make sure that you're doing that. Number 2, toxic people. I can tell you, when I sat there pondering what life might bring, pondering the idea that the shot clock was up, the game was over for me, I did not think twice about those toxic people, those people that you don't really want to spend any time with, but you keep in your life. I didn't think a moment about them. Remove them before you ever come across a situation like I just went through. Trust me, you'll be better off for it. And that includes platforms, whether it's social media or blog sites that are toxic. Get them out of your life. Number 3, this was a hard lesson for me. If you are a business owner, you either have a business or you have a job. Really easy to determine the difference. You have a business if you can continue operations without you sitting in the seat. You have a job if everything grinds to a halt because you're not going to be there. I was very fortunate during my 5-6 month experience in that, I have great clients, I have a great team, but I learned that a lot of what I do in our 2 businesses is predicated upon me executing, and I have to change some of that. If this had been a long, drawn out battle with cancer, it would have been much harder. So think about your own business and whether you have a business or a job. Number 4, my kids say they're going to put this on my tombstone. I've told them that my number 1 life lesson for them is happiness in life is directly proportional to your choice in spouse. I was very fortunate through this experience to have Chris, who was a nurse, help me through and be there and be supportive through the whole thing. It's emotional, as you might imagine. There are ups and downs, but having the right person in your corner is great when things are going well, and it's great when the rubber is meeting the road. And lastly, the best way to describe the 5th lesson comes from a story that Les Brown used to tell. And Les Brown used to say that the ultimate way to pass away is after living a long, full life. Being in your deathbed, surrounded by the ones that you love, is the ultimate way to go. But behind those folks, there are going to be ghosts. And these ghosts are going to be the ghosts of regret. The books you didn't write, the plays you didn't write, the trips you didn't take, the businesses you didn't start. I've told that story for 15 years. It does not have the same impact unless you're sitting there thinking, the shot clock is over. What ghosts are there? And my number one takeaway from that is those ghosts, they don't look like Casper the Friendly Ghost. They look like Mike Tyson in his prime standing across from you in the ring. You know you're going to lose. The only thing that's left is the pain. So the question is, what Mike Tysons are staring back at you? Try to figure out what those Mike Tysons might be and go slay those ghosts now. Slay them while you're healthy and make sure you don't have any regret. So those are the 5 lessons after synthesizing everything I've been through here recently that I wanted to share. 3 quick tips. Number 1, I've noticed a small character change in myself that wasn't present before going through that experience. And that is now I have very little, if any, tolerance for nonsense or fake people. I used to put up with it. I thought I was just being a nice guy. I wish I had had this attitude for the past 49 years. It's very freeing. Don't waste your time with toxic, fake people. Number 2, I love goals. Goals are important. My clients get tired of hearing me talk about goals and OKR systems. I found that when I went through that traumatic period, the goals went out the window. And that really hurt me as I triage everything that I went through. Solid goals for where you want to be in 1 year, 5 years, and 10 years can really help you get through the challenging times. And then lastly, if you think your body is telling you something, go get it checked out. For a full year before I went to the doctor to get that mass identified, I was struggling. I found myself taking naps in the middle of the day, which is not something I normally would have done. In fact, those naps were so prevalent, it actually became a joke in our family. And it turned out the reason I was sneaking naps in almost every day was because my body was struggling. It was fighting something that I really couldn't see. So if you think there's something wrong with your body, there very well could be, and definitely go get it checked out. So if you've stuck around this long and you want to hear about the diagnosis and the cancer, here's what I went through. So I was diagnosed with something called parotidectomy because my parotid gland had a tumor in it. Your parotid gland is a mass about right here on your face. For audio listeners, that's right in front of your earlobe towards your nose. It helps produce saliva in your mouth. The outcomes from this is that if it goes untreated, it will continue to grow, and then removing it requires a high amount of skill. My doctor, Dr. Sequoia in the Wellstar system, absolutely nailed the surgery. So I knew going into it, there was a certain probability that my face was going to look significantly different. It also made me realize that I'm a little bit more of a narcissist than I thought, but Dr. Sequoia nailed the surgery. The potential side effects are a droopy face that would look similar to a Bell's palsy. And that's because removing that tumor required getting underneath nerves inside or underneath the skin on the face. And that's why the procedure took 4 hours. The lymphoma was found in the glands behind the parotid glands. There is a lot of information out there about lymphoma. I highly recommend you only go to the sources that your doctor recommends, because you can really go down some dark rabbit holes with lymphoma. It's a nasty, nasty cancer for sure. I'm very fortunate that I have clean scans today, but that's the nuts and bolts of what I went through in terms of the cancer diagnosis and the process. All in, it took about 6 months to get through. If anybody listening has been diagnosed with this, or somebody they love has been diagnosed with it, please feel free to reach out, DM me on social media, or go to our website at Resilient Advisor and shoot me an email. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I'm very appreciative to all the folks who were in my support network as we went through that process. And I'm looking forward to getting back to producing these podcasts on a regular basis.